What's going on, guys? This is Chandler Smith, and in today's video, I'm gonna share with you all the things that you can do as a real estate investor or homeowner to prepare for the upcoming market crash. So with all of that being said, let's jump into it. All right, guys, if you follow the channel, you know I've been investing for the last 9 years. I currently own 162 units of residential real estate. I also own 160 storage units. I love all things real estate and real estate investing. However, if you follow the channel more recently, you know that I've been a little bit on the verge of doomsdayer. Now, the reason for my doomsdayer-esque attitude is the fact that inflation is on the rise and has been for a while and will continue to be. We are also in an environment where interest rates have increased by more than 2% in the last 90 days. We've had COVID, we've had Russia, we've got a massive demand for housing, a shortage in supply, but we don't completely know what's going to happen with that. We've also had a ton of supply chain issues and a bunch of other stuff that just makes the market and life in general feel kind of wild right now. Now, I've posted lots of videos about my opinion, but I need to be very clear when I say no one knows completely what's going to happen except for maybe Pelosi. In all seriousness though, I don't know what's happening next. I can just give you my opinion based on the facts that I have and my previous experience. And the reality is I wasn't buying real estate before 2008 or any time before that with all of the other market corrections that have happened in the years and years of people investing in real estate. Now, that's not going to stop me from trying to look back at previous information and look at our current information and inform you on what I think might happen and how you can prepare. In this video, I'm going to go through all of the things that I think you need to do as a real estate investor and a homeowner to make sure that you're prepared for the upcoming market crash. Now, when I say the upcoming market crash, what's fun about my job is that could be tomorrow or it could be 20, 30, 50, 100 years from now. There are lots of different things that have pointed out that it looks like a bubble is building or has built. And a lot of that is caused by inflation. I mean, housing prices are through the roof. And there's so many things that say, hey, maybe this market needs to slow down a little bit and maybe we should be worried because pricing has gone absolutely insane. I think I've made smart moves as a real estate investor over the last 8 to 9 years, and I think that's true. I also think that I timed this market perfectly for what was going on, and I've benefited greatly from inflation and just property values in my particular area going through the roof. Now, I hope that my experience and me documenting it here on YouTube has been beneficial for most of you. I know there are lots of people that, say I'm a doomsdayer or that I have no idea what I'm talking about or that I should listen to Dave Ramsey or that I'm set up worse than anyone if a market crash does happen. And so this video is twofold. First off, I'm going to explain how I think I'm in an incredible place if the market were to crash, and in an incredible place if it doesn't and continues to do what it's been doing. But also I'm going to tell you all of the things that I've done to put me in that incredible place and all of the things that I believe you should and can do. So now that we've covered all that I ask you to do is remember to smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the little bell, and let's jump into things. All right, just kidding. Step number 1, you need to be always buying good deals. The reason that this is so important is everyone either falls into one of 2 camps. Well, one of 3 camps. There's the camp of I'm not gonna buy real estate because I'm worried about a market crash and I'm just never gonna buy, it's too risky. There's the camp of I'm gonna wait until the market crashes. And then there's the camp in the middle of most of the successful real estate investors I know, and that is I'm always buying real estate. I'm just going to make sure that I'm only buying good deals. The reason this principle is so important is when the market crashes and you buy good deals, you're in a great place. When the market's on the way up and you're buying good deals, you're in a great place. And even if the market is at the tippy top and you buy a good deal, it's okay because again, it was a good deal. And even with a massive correction, you should be in a place where you're still at least break even and hopefully even cash flowing if you would have bought at the worst time ever for the market because you picked up a deal below market value and turned it into an extraordinary investment. Step number 2, make sure when you buy good deals that you're using good debt. Now, this is one of the things that people kind of skim over when they refer to Dave Ramsey or other people, that they had all this debt and then it got called due and they were in a terrible place and their whole world fell apart. Well, here's the reality. A lot of people got crappy debt where the interest rates were drastically increasing because they weren't fixed over an extended period of time. So if you're gonna take out debt on properties, make sure that your numbers work with that debt, that it's a payment that you think even if the worst case scenario happens in the market, you could continue to make that payment, and make sure that the rates aren't going to change so that that payment doesn't change. Because if you get good debt, you know what you're signing on for the next 30 years. Or if you're getting a commercial loan, a minimum of the next 10 years. And if you're going to get a property where the rate is changing every 5 years, you better own a ton of real estate and have a ton of reserves and be in a place where you know even if things do go south and you've got one deal that might turn into a bad deal, all of your other deals are set up in a great place because you've got good debt. Number 3, don't give in to FOMO of buying a deal because you think it's gonna turn into a good deal. And here's the reality. We've lived in a market where every year, any deal you buy turns into a good deal because rents have gone up so aggressively and property values have gone up so aggressively. And so I know that's been the trend, but at some point, I believe that trend has to stop. We have to have some form of correction. And you might buy a piece of real estate right now and you could be extremely smart a year from now because the market could continue to build. That's a very real possibility. However, you don't want to bank on that, because if you're just banking on the fact that anything you buy now is going to turn into a good deal, because that's historically what's happened for the last couple of years, then you're being a stupid investor. And these are the investors that get caught with their pants down. And unfortunately, a lot of times these are the investors that are also doing the loans on a 3-year or 5-year fixed rate. Then they get land blasted because the market corrects, they're in a deal over their head, and they've got a rate that's going to change, and that's where people really end up worked over. Number 4, make sure that you're keeping great reserves. This means that you've got a minimum of 6 months reserves for you in your personal living situation. And I would say even keep closer to a year so that you know you're covered in a worst case scenario. I would also say keep 6 months to a year reserves for any rental properties that you own. And then you need to also keep a rainy day fund of cash, and you've got to determine what that is for your situation. But I always keep cash set aside to where I know, hey, if the market does correct, I'm gonna have a heyday because I'm gonna put this money to work. And this is money that I just don't wanna touch because I've reached a point in my life where I can continue to buy real estate. I can keep reserves for me and for my rental properties, and I can keep a little bit of extra so that if that fat, juicy, incredible deal ever comes across my table or the market corrects and everyone's extremely fearful, I can jump in with both feet and capitalize big. The other way that I've prepared myself for these situations is I have multiple lines of credit so that if I need to access cash, I might have to pay a little higher interest rate because if interest rates go up, I have prime plus 1 or whatever it is. I'm okay with that though, because then not only do I have reserves for my life, reserves for my business or my real estate, but I've also got these reserves for the rainy day fund and additional money that I can access on debt if I really need to jump in on a crazy deal that I know is gonna pay off big. So as long as you've prepared properly with reserves, once again, you don't have anything to worry about. Number 5, make sure that you've got multiple streams of income. Now, I take pride in the fact that all of the fun stuff in my life, my house, my cars, my lifestyle, is completely paid for with the passive income generated through my rental properties. However, I am also in a place where if my rental properties evaporated, that cash flow disappeared, the whole $700,000 worth of cash flow I have every single year just evaporated into thin air and wasn't there, and I was just breaking even on my properties or maybe even losing money. I also have my sales force. My sales force alone is producing enough money each year where I could afford all of my expenses and even be in a place where I could afford my mortgages for my properties. And then I also have the YouTube channel, which the YouTube channel has grown and it's gotten to the point where it produces decent enough money where that probably couldn't cover all of this stuff, but it would put a decent dent and at least be another form of income that I could fall back on. And I feel like if Aptiv fell through and rental properties fell through and I put everything into my brand and YouTube and really monetized it the way that I could, I think it could potentially be a fallback for me. Now, if you want to help in my monetization strategy, mean the world to me if you remember to smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the little bell. And if you want to see how I've built my real estate portfolio, you can click the link down below and pick up my real estate investing course. Finally, we are to number 6. And number 6 is that if you've gotten to the point where you've got good income, you've invested in real estate, or even if you haven't, but you've purchased your home, you need to make all of these steps so that you're comfortable, you're taken care of, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you've got rental properties with lots of cash flow or if you've gotten a good job so you can afford your lifestyle. If you keep growing your lifestyle at a point where you haven't put in all of these precautions and you can't relax, then what's the point? Because I truly believe the number one priority you should have is freedom over your time and freedom over your stress levels. And if you're constantly pushing for that next thing and taking on risks without mitigating those risks properly, then I would say you're making mistakes. So number 6 is just relax and do what's required so that you can relax because you've put all of these things in place. The market's always going to go up and down. There's always going to be another war, another struggle, another problem. And a lot of these problems are big, they're painful, they're scary, they're sad, they're intimidating, but they're always going to be there. And so you've got to find a way to come to terms with them and live the best life that you can in the process. And I've come to find that the thing that helps me do that is mitigate my risk by preparing for the worst case scenario so that if it does happen, I'm ready. And if it doesn't, well, that's awesome. Now, if you enjoyed the video, again, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, and thanks for coming out. We'll look forward to seeing you next time.